Well, aloha, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to PWT Talks NXT. We're talking NXT for July the 8th, 2025. A go-home show. Go-home show is usually not very good. I thought this was also not great for a go-home show. The chat is liking this episode. And I like most episodes, but this one didn't do much for me. But we'll see if I change my mind through talking about it. Because I was surprised to see that. I'm Kelly Wells. You can find me on Blue Sky at other Kelly Wells, which I totally would have forgotten, except it's on my screen. I'm not there or anywhere social very often, unless I'm in a Facebook group helping people identify baseball signatures because I'm very good at that. Not doing a whole lot of the other stuff right now, but I am watching a lot of wrestling. So there is that. Nate, I'm back from Dallas. It was a seemingly long, but the same length as every show. Very stressful show for reasons that I will never ever get into. But it was whatever. But I did walk away. Oh, I had a visual for my cash bonus, but my wife took it upstairs, never to be seen by me again, I imagine. So what are you going to do? Nate, who are you?
Nate Lindberg. Check things I do out at natelindberg.com.
All right. So your main event segment was a schmaz of women who are all going to be in the Battle Royal. We got 6 names of women from NXT that are going to be in that Battle Royal to get a shot at the WWE Women's Championship. They're having a battle royal because they've got a lot of women and they want to get as many as they can on the show. So from NXT, we've got Jada Parker, Kalani Jordan, Lash Legend, Dizzy Dame, Tatum Paxley, and Lola Vice. I think Lola's the other one. Yes, those are the 6. These segments do nothing for me. They're always so silly. And forced getting everyone to the ring. Steve Repture says, did you see Julia just kind of walk down them stairs with no acknowledgement? Yes. She had
There's a bunch of them that did.
And then there was something that happened outside the ring. So they just showed Ivy Nile and Zelina Vega like standing there waiting for their cue, which is fine if they're not going to be on TV until they are in the brawl. But it was like it was kind of like they were accidentally peeling back the curtain, because normally they don't show those people who are just hanging out, not doing anything until they're inside the ring. So, and they just use the right angles for that. So these segments are forced, but hey, we can talk about the 6 women who are in it. Not a lot of surprise, but I mean, they're really trying something with Izzy. And I guess riding her coattails is Tatum. Now, I'm not saying that because I don't like Tatum, because I really do. But Tatum has never been really pushed as somebody who wins. She's gotten a lot of TV time, but she does not win very often. So being in this spot is surprising to me that she got one of these spots and not somebody like Thea Hale, who seems so overdue to be on the main roster, but she is feuding with like the bottom feeder of the division right now. Anyway, 6 women chosen. Nate,
Yeah.
not a lot of surprise, but tell me what you think.
All right. This segment was all over the place for me. This really felt like they put this together last minute. Ava comes out. She starts talking about about the original Women's Evolution pay-per-view back in 2018, and everything she's saying is just so corporate, I guess is the best way I can describe it. Just very corporate. It seems like, just the company thing to say, which obviously that's her role, but it was like it just felt like over the top for me, and like it was going on too long. Jordan Grace comes down, and I don't know, even then it started, everything just felt so forced, I guess is really the long and short of what I'm trying to say. as Steve Repsher pointed out in the chat, we saw like Julia just out in the crowd, no response or no, response from commentary, no mention of her in commentary. The Candice LeRae was another one that was just walking down the stairs on the other side of the arena. Then like you said, we saw, Ivy Nile and Zelina Vega and a few other women just standing on the side, on the sidelines. And to me, it didn't seem like they were pulling back the curtain accidentally type of thing. To me, it was all of these women are just now swarming the ring from outside the arena. And that felt almost even worse to me, because now you have, I don't know, I'm going to call it 20 women. I don't know how many there were actually in this segment, but let's call it 20. You've got 20 women that are just kind of like around the outside of this, we know is a small arena. It's a TV studio, in a what used to be the Performance Center. So it just seems very far-fetched to me. It's like they're all backstage, like they all know each other's there, then they all come out of this really small space to swarm the ring. Like, I don't know. It just felt like and this is exactly what they did. They put this segment on the end of the show to try to promote Evolution, which they have not really done a great job promoting, well, not necessarily promoting, but building up to, actually is probably a better way to put it. Done a great job talking about Evolution and playing the commercials and stuff, but building up to Evolution has been a slow build. There are 3 shows they're building to this week: Great American Bash, Evolution, and Saturday Night Main Event. When you're building to 3 shows, man, and Evolution is taking half of the roster, well, roughly half of the roster from both the main roster and NXT, to come down. So everything for this weekend just seems very convoluted, very. And I don't know if this is true or not. If they wanted to counter program AEW, that's the talk of the internet right now, and it feels that way. They're just throwing all of these events this weekend just to counter program AEW, and whether it's true or not, it's just a lot to try and build towards all at once. I feel like they could have done such a better job building to not just Evolution, but with this last segment, Main Event. I mean, yes, you got a ton of the women on TV, but it was this really messy brawl that I don't think did anything for anybody, with maybe the exception of Jada Parker, who kind of was, I think, a bit of a standout in that. So yeah, this didn't do much for me. It didn't really get me too psyched up for Evolution. And actually, Ryan Solario's right, technically building towards 2 pay-per-views. So yeah, and then also, I guess Slammiversary too, they're kind of helping to build towards that. So there's a lot going on. This main event segment it didn't do a whole lot for me. It didn't get me excited for Evolution. Didn't make me want to watch it anymore. I probably still will, but I'm not a big fan.
Yeah, I'll definitely watch it, but building battle royals like this is just goofy, and especially in the main event segment. Brock Benningfield says it was strange they referred to it as a summit.
Yeah.
Very strange, considering Ava's plan in kayfabe was to go out there and to just make the announcement and nobody else be there. So she was calling it a summit, even though nobody else was going to attend.
Which
but I
is
guess
weird. Which is weird because they're showing women show up all night to come to the summit, yet that's how they're going to play it off in the end.
Right.
Yeah,
I guess you can't call it Ava goes out and makes an announcement and then there's 12 run-ins, but whatever. It was whatever. Steve Repsher says somehow Nikita didn't sneak in, and Nikita is firmly on Evolve. I am watching Evolve, and she is firmly on Evolve, and she's not even getting much TV time there. she's like, she showed up on Evolve about 7 or 8 weeks ago, 6, 5, I don't know, and I believe she's only been on twice. And one of them was a tag team match, which she lost. I don't think, I don't know. I'm not celebrating anyone being cut, but I think she's on like the final chance here. I really do. So yeah, we've taken all our swipes at her here, but she's on Evolve and she's struggling. She's struggling there. Ryan Solorio says maybe it was a private summit. LOL. Yeah, I mean, it's Ava. Who knows what she's got in her head? And she did put together that eye makeup. Brock says, "Is Brooks Jensen in Evolve?" You know what? He probably will be. He hasn't been on it yet. I was in and out of sleep during the last one a couple nights ago in Dallas, but I don't think he was on it. Yeah, but at this point, I'm kind of expecting him to be. Okay, so that was that segment. Let's talk about a match because there were 5 of those. Hank and Tank, they've been champs for almost 3 months. Might as well have them defend their championships, be in a tag team match, be in any match of any kind. Good stuff. So there you go. They successfully defend against Sean Spears and Nico Vance. I think they're trying to hype Nico into a star with the way they're like zooming in on his face and everything like that, but dude just doesn't have it. He doesn't have it yet at any rate. So I don't know. Thanks for the attempt. It's great, but I don't know. They continued the story of Sean Spears biting every bullet that he has to protect his mates. He ate the whatever they call it, where they get splashed in the middle by both guys, and he took that spot and then took the pin, of course, as you would expect he would if they were going to lose. I didn't think that they were going to lose. I actually thought that this was the end for Hank and Tank, but they took these guys that they spent 2 years defining as losers and they made them look like superstars. I thought they looked really good in this match.
Yeah.
And looked more like stars and more like they belonged than they ever have. So maybe the time off TV and just time spent investing in them as characters kind of paid off because they really looked not only like they won, but like they should have won this match. They've been our lovable doofuses, and that's great, but they're trying them out as, you know, still a fun, goofy team, but one that really is a threat and is champions for a reason. So I actually thought this match was really quite good for Hank and Tank. I thought the match itself was fine. I thought the match was great for those two guys, Nate.
No, I mean it was a really good match. Yeah, I agree with you with Hank and Tank. Like, you know, I've always been on the Hank and Tank train, but more as like a comedy act. When they won the NXT tag titles, like, yeah, I was happy that they won them because, you know, I liked them as a team and whatnot. But, you know, also at the same time, it was also kind of sad to see Fraxium's run end, but that's another story for another day. But, you know, then, like you said, yeah, they kept them off TV and things. And I don't know, I felt like at this point they were, it was like, okay, are they just transitional champions? Or are they just holding them because they wanted Fraxium on the main roster? And they didn't really have another, you know, team that they felt ready to put them towards or whatever. And I don't know, maybe that was the case. Don't know. But I agree with you. Tonight they looked like, and not just looked like they were tag champions, but I mean the crowd solidly behind them, as they always have been. But I mean they're really behind them as champions, which is good to see, unexpected to see, I think, for me anyway. But good to see, because after watching Fraxium in the tag division for so long as tag team champions, you got kind of used to this caliber of NXT tag team championship match. And, you know, not that Hank and Tank can't deliver, but it's not on quite that level. It's a different style. It's more of a brawling type style. So, I mean, I guess, you know, you really can't just compare them, but you know what I mean? It's a different, just different style of wrestling. I like I said, I think they looked good here. I did not. I don't remember. Did you say you thought they were going to lose? They were going to lose or not going to lose?
I did think they were going to lose, but in
Okay, that's what I thought.
retrospect, if they lose, who are the challengers other than Hank and Tank themselves? Because there are heel tandems. There really aren't any other baby faces.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't even thinking about that, but for some reason, in this was more just kind of a gut instinct than anything. I did not see them losing. They're even though they've been champions for 3 months, it seems like they're still new champions since they haven't really done much with the titles. Um, so I don't know. In my head, I was kind of thinking, no, it's still too early into the run. But also, the culling just never seems to win a match when it really, really matters. And most of the time, when it doesn't matter, they don't really win a match. So I don't know. I didn't see it happening. I wouldn't have been surprised if it did, but I didn't have my money on the calling tonight. I thought it was going to be Hank and Tank. Um, the crowd being so solidly behind them, yeah, I think certainly helps out. Um, but yeah, now that you say that, like I'm trying to think who would be a good babyface duo. I don't even know. Don't even know.
I
It's gonna
mean, they
be,
got Briggs and Inamura, but Briggs
but
isn't
Briggs
really a
and
baby face.
no,
Inamura
especially
is.
after tonight.
I know. They started booing him, and I'm like, what? What is this? And then he healed on him. So it could be that Briggs went and healed on the crowd before the show started. I know that's something Tom Stout used to go to a lot of these, and he said if they needed someone to get a reaction that they weren't sure they'd get, they'd have them do something before cameras were ever on, and go out and do something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I and the other reason that I thought that it was their time was there was like a 4-minute culling video right before the match. um,
Yeah, that's true too. Um,
oh well.
yeah.
Yeah. No other faces, just heels upon heels. Whatever. Okay, so we open the show. Ricky Saints versus the Vanity Project in a gauntlet match. This is something they don't do very often. They will do it with one babyface versus 3 heels, and it's almost always win-win loss. But in this case, it was win-win-win, and this is one you can get away with because none of these guys need to be protected right now. They're all Evolve guys, even though the last one who lost, who wasn't even in the longest match because that was Ricky Smokes, the one who lost last is the Evolve champion, Jackson Drake. But I thought the work here was pretty all right. And it should be. It stayed quick because Baylor only went 3 minutes, and then Smokes got about 5, but a lot of that was the commercial. And then we got about 3 or 4 from Jackson Drake. And Ricky Saints indeed gets the match with Ethan Page, and he makes it a Falls Count Anywhere. I'm a sucker for the Falls Count Anywhere. I like to see what they do with that and where they have their falls. I just dig that. So Nate on the opener.
Yeah, like my favorite, one of my favorite Falls Count Anywhere steps, or not steps, but finishes, and it's controversial, but I think it was The Rock and Mankind or Big Show. No, maybe Mankind the Big Show. I think it was a Big Show. Mankind used a pallet and a forklift to pin Big Show. I don't know. Some people love it, some people hate it. I thought it was clever. Anyway, so I really liked this opener. We knew this was happening. We talked about this last week. This Vanity Project gauntlet match. Yeah, I think Ricky Sayers looked great here. You kind of, I don't know. I had a feeling like kind of like you said, none of these guys needed to be protected. I had a feeling that this was going to be the way that it went. He's just kind of plows through all of these guys. Now, granted, he didn't necessarily plow through them all. He worked with all of them for, like you said, at least a handful of minutes each. But yeah, I think they looked really good. What's that first guy's name?
Brad Baylor.
What was it?
It's Brad Baylor, Ricky Smokes, and Jackson Drake.
Yeah, no, Brad Baylor. Okay, Brad Baylor. Yeah, I liked him. I thought some of his mannerisms were a little over the top, but he
He's
was really
very over the top. So he's
okay.
been over the
Yeah,
top since the beginning. At the beginning, I really, really disliked him. And then it seems like he's kind of settled into the right volume of annoying. I think he's
okay.
really, really getting it now. Like early on, I just thought this is too much too soon for these guys. And then I saw him in a match and I was like, oh, they can really go.
Yeah. Well, like I'm very familiar with Ricky Smokes. He's a local wrestler here in New England. Yeah, I've gone to God at least a dozen shows Ricky Smokes has been on. One just a couple weeks ago, here in the town next to me. And Ricky Smokes is chaotic and rad pro wrestling are the two promotions, the kind of brother sister promotions in the area. You watch him and he's one of the few that you kind of go, oh, he's a standout, like he's special. And I really saw that tonight working with Ricky Starks. I've seen him every time I've seen Ricky Smokes in person. It's always been another indie wrestler that he's gone up against, and he's usually the better out of the two. So tonight was actually really the first time that I've seen Ricky Smokes work with somebody at a level like Ricky Saints. I'm gonna always call him Ricky Starks, Ricky Saints. Um,
To delete it like 3 times during my recap and be like,
I
nope,
know.
that's not what it
Yep.
is.
It was really cool to see. I feel like I mean, he's young. I don't know how old he is. He's young. I feel like he is probably. I think the ceiling is really high for him. I really, really do. But so I liked what they did tonight. I thought, Saints allowed Smokes to get a lot in. Really, all of them really get a lot in and kind of show off what they can do. So not was this just wow. Let me try that again. My tongue worked fast. It wouldn't work as fast as my brain. This wasn't not just a an obstacle for Ricky Saints to kind of overcome to get another title shot against Ethan Page, but this was also kind of like a low-key way to just showcase some of this up-and-coming talent on Evolve. I all three of these guys I think are real standouts, and I think kind of deserve to be in the position they're at. You're kind of as Ethan Page's lackeys right now, and I hope it leads to something bigger for him. Yeah, I hope it leads to an actual like NXT run. I really like what these guys bring to the table. I want to see a little bit more out of him. I know Ricky Smokes can, he's got some chops on the mic. I've seen him talk in person. But the other two, I don't know. I haven't been really keeping up with Evolve, so I don't know. I want to see some more out of these guys. But that said, this is more about Ricky Saints and Ethan Page than the Vanity Project. I thought this was a great way to go. It kind of helps to paint Ethan Page as more of that chicken shit heel that wants to throw all these obstacles in the way and to try and not defend his title against his this rival that and they keep coming back to this rivalry. Their careers have kind of been parallel in multiple companies and bingo halls and all this stuff all over the years. So I'm really looking forward to the match. For a Great American Bash. I think the two of them are going to go out and put on a fantastic match. Prediction for it, I'm like 50-50 because I feel like Ethan Page makes a great heel champion, and I feel like Ricky Saints probably would be better off chasing the title than it being the other way around. I would like to see Ethan Page get his comeuppance, but I don't know if I'm in the camp in favor of him dropping that title so soon. I really like Ethan Page as the heel champ.
I'm gonna say Ricky could be moved up. No spring chicken is he? He feels young because he just hasn't had like that great big moment. And I think of him as young because I was covering him in his 20s when he was in his very, very late 20s when he was in NWA, which is starting to feel like a long time ago. I was going to say that I thought he was about 31 standard deviation in the chat brings up the fact that he is 35. So has a few years on even where I thought he was. So who was it? Ryan Solorio said, I feel like whoever loses goes up. Yes, this does kind of have feeling of loser gets promoted, which has been an NXT stalwart for kind of a while, matches like that. So, okay, let's go to another match that I was going to say was short but sweet, but it wasn't that short. 9 minutes and 39 seconds, Tavian Heights and Charlie Dempsey. Tavian Heights, again, has to win to leave the group, which is very silly. But if you overlook that, this is actually a really interesting ending. Set aside that they didn't establish that Ren Sinclair could end a match by throwing in a towel. It's an interesting ending because Sinclair has issues with Charlie Dempsey because he was being so cruel to Tavian Heights. And Heights could have issues with Ren Sinclair because she threw in the towel and he could say, hey, I was going to get out of this. Sean Plickta says, good match, but a terrible finish. I'm going to say good match and the best finish of the night. And it should have been established that he said he wasn't in that bad apparel. He was. He was probably 2 minutes into being hit with different different finishers. Now, they could have gone longer. And as somebody who watches a lot of New Japan, if they were going to do a towel finish, they would have done that for like 7 minutes. Because they got as much time as they want. But yeah, that's not what they did here. But anyway, they are moving on, continuing this. Why not? They did have Dempsey rip off the mask just to be a jerk, and Heights fired up. But at any rate, this group and the family are going to be the breakups that never ended. So there you go. We might as well roll the family into this. We had, I thought this was a really bizarre way to bring back Adriana Rizzo.
I didn't. I loved it.
Not in front of a crowd.
Yeah, okay. All right. I give you that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, she was great in the scene, but so yeah, in the chat they're talking about, hey, his knee was stretched for 3 minutes. That's what I'm saying, man. I thought that they did enough work to set up that ending. But anyway, yes, the family shows up, and Adriana Rizzo, as always, saves the segment because she's good on the stick. And the three guys bicker, and they're going to be in a triple threat match. I didn't hear when that was. So much is being done for pay-per-views, PLEs, that I'm pretty sure that was actually being set for a weekly show match. I
don't think they said it.
I don't know if they did either. But yeah, cool to see Adriana. Weird to see her in the progressive segment of the night. It was, well, if you're a progressive, are you like, hey, you give us a segment every week, but it's about the mafia? Like, do we really want to be connected to that? And Sean Plickta in the chat says, gee, another triple threat match, LOL. Yes, and immediately after that, Jasper Troy made an attack and said, make this a triple threat match. Like right after that segment, I'm like, they can't help themselves. They just say triple threat as many times as they can. So on NQCC and the family, they just can't get along, Nate.
No, they can't. These factions are just splitting up left and right. So Tavian Heights, Charlie Dempsey, I thought it was a fantastic match. I did like the ending. With Ren Sinclair throwing in the towel, because I had the same thought, like, oh, she can do that, like but they have done that with the NQCC in the past in Heritage Cup matches. So, and that's a thing that they've done in Heritage Cup match. So I let it slide because it is something we've seen, but I do agree. I wish it was something that they would have at least maybe said was a stipulation or something that she could do, or I don't know. That said, I didn't mind the finish. I it didn't fall flat for me. I kind of liked it. You know, Ren Sinclair, she has that heart. She's looking out for her friend, and she didn't want to see him get hurt anymore. Now, granted, Tavion Heights could take offense to that, you know, like Kelly said, and be like, no, like you screwed me, my chances of getting out of here, you know, things like that. Last week, I was talking with Kevin Catani on the show, and I was saying to him, like, I don't really understand this angle. Like, if you don't want to be part of a group, just leave. You know, like, is there a contract? Like, why are you stuck here, right? You know, and Kevin said, he's like, you know, the way that he's interpreting it is it's like Tavion wants to leave, but he wants to still have the respect of Charlie Dempsey. Like, he wants his blessing, like, you're ready to go. You've graduated for the NQCC. So that's the way I'm looking at it, even though if they're not really doing a great job of portraying it that way on TV. I still feel like this is weird. Like if you want to leave a group, just leave. So I'm trying to keep Kevin's thoughts in my mind as I'm watching this. But like I said, the match itself was great. I thought great storytelling. The two of them obviously have some great chemistry together, being friends. I'm sure, you know, they're traveling together and spending a lot of time together as a group, as a lot of groups tend to do. So it doesn't surprise me that they had a good match. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I have a feeling this is probably going to wind up in one more match between the two of them with, you know, maybe why did I want to call her Tatum Paxley? Ren Sinclair. Wow. With Ren Sinclair maybe barred from ringside or something like that. Some sort of a stipulation that is going to lead to a definitive winner with supposedly no outside interference. But this is wrestling, so you never know. What was the other one? What was the other one you talked about? Oh, the family segment. So I don't think this was as weird for me for Adriana Rizzo. Now, granted, I think her showing up in front of a crowd would have got a massive pop. But I think this particular segment played better as a behind-the-scenes thing than it did in the ring, because, you know, Adriana, she says or Riz, the Riz as they're calling her, or as the kids say nowadays, I don't know. Adriana Rizzo, she calls all three of them to a meeting, and I feel like for something like that, you want it to be more personal. Like, you know, this is a personal beef between these three guys that used to be really close, be the family, right? You want it to be a bit more personal than in front of a crowd. So I don't know. I liked this. I thought all of them did a great job here. Adriana Rizzo, 100%. Like you said, she's great on the mic, and she did a wonderful job in this segment, as far as I'm concerned. You know, I think she's doing it. There's like an urgency in the tone of her voice that you don't get with a lot of wrestlers, I guess. Not everybody, or at least not naturally anyway. And to her, it seems like it comes naturally. I dig it. The triple threat match, I guess, is inevitable considering what's going on with the story. So I think Kevin and I even talked about it last week about this possibly being working out to be a triple threat match. Even potentially a Great American Bash. Again, for a prediction, I don't know. I have a feeling it's probably going to be Stax. For some reason, it feels like they're trying to push Stax right now. He's got a little bit more of an edge to him. He's clearly more of the heel in this. Like, I feel like he's the heel. Tony's still somehow the baby face, and Luca's kind of this like tweener in the middle. I feel like he could lean either way, lean face or lean heel, depending on how the match goes and what the story of the match calls for. I'm definitely looking forward to that. Whether this is the end of the D'Angelo family saga, I want to say I'll believe it when I see it, but who knows? We'll find out.
Yeah, I just don't know how you take any of those three characters and put them in a new context. You have to change them entirely. I just don't know how any of them get by without that connection. And I mean any of the four, including Adriana. So,
I mean, it was like, I mean, it's really like any big stable, like they work together, like especially a big stable that works really well together. Then you split them up. It's almost like DX. You had not Shawn Michaels, not that version of DX. Triple H, Road Dogg, X Pac, China, Billy Gunn. Like then they break up and then they broke up the Outlaws, and everybody just felt like they were still connected, but they weren't. And I feel like that's going to be the same thing with, with the family. Like they're really going to need to make some either drastic changes to one or two of these guys or all three to really allow them to flourish and shine after this angle, because they've been tied to each other now for 4 years.
Bella 1422 says we need a new Godfather to come in and run the show. The last thing we need is more of these guys.
Unless we get the Godfather to come in and run the show.
It needs fewer guys. Yeah, I mean, if Marlon Brando walks through that door, I'm going to be like, "Hey, man, I'm impressed." I don't know.
I meant Charles White, but because we're talking about wrestling. But Marlon Brando, I mean, that's cool too.
Yeah. Yeah. I never cared for the Charles Wright good Godfather character. I know everyone else did. I did not.
I did. I was in my early teens. I loved the Godfather.
I was the right age. I just thought it was lame. But I liked Kama the Ultimate Fighting Machine, and I liked Papa Shango.
Papa Shango was great.
Yeah. And I think underrated paint. I think it's some of the best paint in wrestling history.
I don't think it's underrated at all.
Do people know? Do they know?
I think people understand. I think people give Papa Shango the credit it deserves. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good to hear. Joe Hendry and Mike Santana versus High Rise.
I mean, you've heard Wade Barrett for years, and what is it, like 14 years now running? He's tried to get Papa Shango in the Royal Rumble.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, it's like a campaign Wade Barrett's been on for years. 14 years sticks in my head. It could be more or less, but yeah, that's a thing. Yeah. People love Papa Shango.
All right, Joe Hendry and Mike Santana defeated High Rise in 8:43, so they're not going to be your next champs, probably. Trick Williams comes out and attacks Santana and Hendry with the help of High Rise and Wes Lee, who is kind of part of High Rise. Is the three of them High Rise, or is the two of them High Rise? I don't know. Okay, so anyway,
yes,
numbers caught up. The heels beat up the baby faces. It is that simple. And Hendry has the hardest job in the world, which is being in a match and hoping that people do not cheer for Trick Williams. I just don't get this, Nate. I don't know what else to say. This is bonkers. That's all. This tag match.
Yeah, it is. I don't know. I really don't know what to say here either. I feel like it's a little. Joe Hendry, he's still a fan favorite, but his popularity has fallen off. I feel like the popularity, the viral meme popularity has kind of started to dwindle a little bit, as you knew it would. And I think that happened probably after he lost his title, maybe even a little bit before that. But I do. So I mean, I'll try to be positive. I mean, the things that I do like. Joe Hendry and Mike Santana, they're rivals, technically in the TNA universe, trying to go for the TNA title, separate. They both want the TNA title, but they've got a bigger foe in Trick Williams. They're trying to both bring the TNA title back to TNA. So I kind of like that. You've got two people that are rivals, but they're fighting together for a greater good. But yeah, I do think it's going to be hard to try and. It's going to be interesting to see how this match actually plays out in front of a non-performance center crowd. because a PC crowd, they can be a little unpredictable sometimes, or actually they can be a little predictable sometimes too. And they might cheer for things, like Trick Williams, their homegrown hero, over somebody like Joe Hendry. Not that he wasn't getting cheered, but I'm wondering if I don't even know where the Great American Bash is, what city it's supposed to be in.
Atlanta, right? It's all in Atlanta.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's all Hotlanta, as Lash Legend
Oh my
said. That's
God.
right.
I was just trying so hard to avoid that. My favorite thing is
You did. I didn't.
In the Atlanta airport, there's a sign that says, "Welcome to Atlanta." None of us call it Hotlanta. But apparently she does.
I've been to Atlanta and only the airport. I don't remember seeing that sign though. Probably 4 or 5 times I think I've landed at that airport, and then taken right off again. Yeah, but I'm interested to see how this plays out in front of the Atlanta crowd. If they get more behind Trick Williams, like we're seeing with the Florida crowd, or not. If they're kind of more solidly behind Joe Hendry, but the match itself, I didn't mind the match. It was fun. I'm really digging the high rise. Tyreek and Tyson. We've been kind of waiting to see them kind of have their moment for a little while. They've been kind of like OTM. OTM, it's in kind of the same deal. Like they've been just kind of floating around. They're there, but we don't see them super often. And if we do, like they were losing, but now they're kind of finally got their spot, their big first spot. I like this. I really do. I think Wes Lee in kind of this more managerial role is good. I don't know if they're doing it, maybe. I know he's not, like off the shelf, on the shelf injured because he's been wrestling, but I'm wondering if they're also maybe doing it to kind of give him a bit of a break from wrestling after his, major back surgery and all that. When he came back a year and a half ago, however long it was. So I don't know if maybe that's part of it. That's just kind of speculation. Something I was thinking about. But the attitude that we're getting out of Wes Lee kind of translates into the high rise, I think, really, really well. And just watching him outside the ring during the match, he's just obnoxious, and I love it. I absolutely love it. The fro pick and his newly grown afro, everything. I think this is a great heel persona for Wes Lee, and he's finally able to show off a different side of himself, which he's been doing for a while now as a heel. But he's finally able to show off this different, another side of himself. So he's always played a face, as far as I'm aware, at least in his WWE career, and I know he was a face in TNA for quite a while before jumping, at least. So kind of give him something new to sink his teeth into, and I think he's doing a great job with it.
Brock Benningfield says, possible hot take, Santana does nothing for me. That take is scorching because
I agree.
Santana is awesome. I think he is the perfect white meat babyface, working man's champion. I really think that he makes for a good, relatable underdog champion. I don't know that that's what people want. People want people who are larger than life, but for me, he's just awesome. I don't know why this happened in the chat, but it did. Ryan Slorio said, I just found out Sean O'Hare invented the F5. Sean O'Hare invented a lot of things, but I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. Okay, so let me see if I missed anything else here. Sick F5. Seth Rollins would like a word. I still see tag team guy. Okay. Yeah, I don't. I actually think this is a lot better than whatever he did in the tag team. I don't know. I don't ever see a guy as tag team guy or singles guy unless they really fade into the background. Like, people use Jannetty for that, but I mean, there are ones that are way, way more than Jannetty. Imagine Epico being a singles guy. That's all I'm saying. Okay, so Kalani Jordan versus Lainey Reed. This happened because of a scene that happened. Lainey Reed has deliverance music. Good for her. 4 minutes and 24 seconds. Kalani Jordan and her new glorious hair extensions win with a split-legged moonsault that she got into from a different position, and it looked really dangerous, but she landed the thing because she's really good at what she does. Thea Hale came out. Thea Hale came out and is feuding with a person who lost in a match that did not matter. That is just where Thea is. So Kalani Jordan defeats Lainey Reed. Sean, we thank you for the donation to the torch. We will talk about that right after we talk about this match. Nate.
Yeah, I like Lainey Reed. I'm not sure if I necessarily liked the music. I actually said to Jobin earlier, it sounds like something straight out of Stardew Valley. And Jobin was like, I don't know, I didn't even hear it because I only played a little bit of it as we're coming back from a commercial break. I think they said it was, that they def rebelled it. Yeah, I don't know. I like her. I think she's a good addition to the roster right now. I curious to see what her ceiling is. Right now, I'm not sure yet. I feel like it might be a little higher than I think it is at the moment, but time will tell. But I like this match. I think Kalani Jordan has, I guess, cool for me anyway. And I could be wrong, but this is just me. I feel like she's cooled off a little bit over the last, I don't know, maybe 6 months or so. She was maybe not quite 6 months, maybe 4 months or something like that. But she was starting to get this real edge to her. She was talking back to people, and we were talking a lot about is she a heel? Is she not a heel? Is she about to turn? Is she not going to turn? And we haven't really seen as much of that as of late. I'm kind of hoping we start to see a lot of that back. Like tonight, I just felt like she was back to being the happy, bubbly, I'm happy to be here, Kalani Jordan. That said, I'm glad to see she won the match, and I think she was one that was going to be in. Look at your notes. Was she one of the ones? Yeah, she was. She was one of the ones named to be representing NXT in the Women's Battle Royal at Evolution. So
Kalani?
Obviously she's Kalani. So she's obviously going to she's still in the limelight, and she's still getting pushed, and she's still somebody that the company is very favorable on. But I just feel like she's been cooled off a little bit over the last handful of months. I'd really like to see her kind of get back to the limelight a little bit. I feel like I feel like she's even a prime contender to challenge for the NXT title. She's still maybe a little newer than some of the others, but or at least in my mind. But I guess she's really not. She's been around for a handful of years now. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't really have much more to say about this, but I enjoyed the match. I thought it was nice. It was fun.
In the chat, this did spiral off into a question or into a conversation about how Def Rebel is not good, and Jim Johnston was. Nobody brought up Jim Johnston, but I bet if they had, they would have talked about how music was good then. So yeah,
Jim Johnston was good. CFO was good too, and then Def Rebel,
right. And yeah, it's and Jimmy Hart, of course, was fantastic.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I just don't know. Let's go back to what Sean said. The sponsored comment here: if someone is super over as a face, keep them face. Simple stuff, but okay. So just to pile on, what promoters always say is, if we don't know if a kid coming up can be a heel or a face, we always start them heel because it's way lower risk because they're not being asked to sell tickets. So some heels will, because they're cool enough or big enough or whatever. Some heels sell tickets. Ric Flair, I believe we can argue that he probably sold tickets and that people went to shows to see Ric Flair lose his championship, which he did like 17 times. Good for him. But but they say if you've got a face who's like really a good face, you try not to mess with that unless you absolutely have to, because they're selling your tickets. And I feel like to some degree with the damage that they've done to Trick is maybe irreparable. He's going to get on the main roster and new crowds are going to see him. And ultimately this won't matter as much, but the groundswell for him was enormous. And in the name of just trying out all their best talent on the other side of the aisle before they bring them in, because they do that so much with the better talents they have, they just did it. And I just, I've seen every episode of NXT, and I think there's almost no talent that I think had to do this less than Trick Williams. Nobody who should have been tasked with being a heel, trying out the other side of the aisle less than Trick Williams. So, Nate, anything on that? I know we talk about this all the time.
Yeah, no, I don't have much more to say. I mean, I pretty much echo everything you say. Trick, I think he's a great heel. I think he's doing a fantastic job at what he's doing, but that's not what people want to see out of him right now. And if there's this organic swell, I for lack of a better term, of people that really just want to see Trick or want to cheer for Trick Williams, and that kind of goes into what we were talking about a little bit ago, with this match, coming up with him and Mike Santana and Joe Hendry and all of that, like, yeah, I really don't think he needed the heel turn. He was such an organic babyface. It's a lofty comparison. It's a very lofty comparison, but I mean, he was kind of like, I felt like he was almost like Prime Rock. He had the crowd in the palm of his hand. He was great on the mic, great in the ring. He's got this level of cool factor that you can't teach. He just has it. He oozes it. It's this aura, his charisma, and like you said, ultimately at the end of the day, I don't think, or at least I don't think it's done irreparable damage, because for a couple of the reasons that you mentioned, because he's eventually going to the main roster and he's going to be exposed to an entirely new audience. They're going to see Trick for Trick, and I think he's got the potential to be, just as big on the main roster as he was in NXT and as a babyface. Time will tell. It's all going to depend on booking and all of that. But I think if he gets to the main roster and for example, they immediately put him back in like a program with Carmelo, and they kind of reignite that rivalry or something like that. They put Trick on the babyface side. Like, I think the two of them could really shine and put Trick over as a massive babyface in the main roster. But I overall, a long-winded way of saying, I do think it was a bad move to make him a heel. And I really don't think he needed it.
John asked us what we thought about Blake Monroe and Jordan Grace, as if we were not going to pass through the weirdness that was their scenes. This brand loves their women who are odd couples. They just love doing this with odd couple women. They had Io Sky and Zoe Stark going out to restaurants with "I Don't Like You."
Oh God, I forgot about that.
They had that happening. They had oh gosh, what was the one I just lost? They had Fallon Henley and Tiffany Stratton, working at the barn. And now we got this. We have we have Spa Day. Would you call it that? I don't know. Just a happy looking place where Blake Monroe wanted Jordan Grace to enjoy the finer things. And I was so glad. The thing that kind of made this okay for me is at the end, Jordan Grace says, I mean, don't I always kind of look like this? She said, like, this is, she made a point to say, this is my look. And Blake Monroe goes, I know, but wasn't this more fun? I thought that this got away with its charm. In the chat, we're hearing, we got, they like some campiness. And Brock Manningfield brings up Gigi and Ariana Grace as well. So yes, that was, Gigi was belching for a while. That's something that feels like it was recent, and I guess it wasn't. So yeah, this was goofier than, I don't know. This is weird. But I'm trying to find a way to say I didn't hate this, and I think I should have, Nate.
Thanks, Muscle Muffin. This was an interesting segment. I don't hate it. Some of these campy segments I roll my eyes at, and I don't know, this worked for me. Jordan Grace, like, she was funny. Like, she was funny in like, God, what the hell was it she said on the phone? This is she's on the phone and she looks out the window. The black SUV rolls up. It's like, oh, it involves a black SUV. I can't lift that. It's like, no, get in it. And it's like, I just stupid shit like that. It is. I thought it was great. I'm interested to see how this is going to play into Evolution, their match at Evolution. If it plays into them, being a little bit more on the same page. Is Jordan Grace going to come out kind of more glamorized than she normally is, made over, I guess. I don't know. But I thought this was fun. I think Blake Monroe got a little bit of, I don't want to say heat, but there were a lot of people, that very first segment that she had, where they introduced her, it was basically a shot for shot rip off of a Sabrina Carpenter thing. That got like a lot of hate online. And I think this is kind of giving her a bit of a, I don't know, a little bit more what am I trying to say? I think this is giving doing a little bit better with the fans. The fans taking a little bit better to this than that Sabrina Carpenter ripoff. I know from at least what I'm reading online on Reddit and things like that, people are seeming to take to Blake Monroe a little bit better. I do feel like this is kind of like they just did a lot of this with Tiffany Stratton, this kind of character, of a Barbie type character. So when Blake Monroe gets to the main roster, how is that going to mesh with Tiffany Stratton? I don't know. I feel like the characters are way too similar. But yeah, we'll see. I'm overall though, I really liked these couple segments. They were a lot of fun. I don't want to see them every single week, but campiness every once in a while, sign me up.
All right, so just mostly segments left. I will roll some of them together. Jasper Troy kept attacking Javon Evans until Javon Evans attacked Jasper Troy. So that was one of them. Dark State, they did another thing that was not wrestling, but apparently they attacked Matt Cardona on TNA. So a couple months ago, they were attacking Oba Femi on NXT. Now they're attacking a washout on TNA. Matt Cardona, the man who would not leave this company, apparently. So anything on either of those two before I move on?
Dark State, I don't know. I didn't know they attacked Matt Cardona. That's interesting. I'm kind of interested to see if maybe that means we get a Matt Cardona sighting in NXT because I think that'd be awesome. So I mean, ultimately, that's his goal. He said that in interviews. He wants to come back to, it's not like, I think the ultimate goal for him is to come back to WWE. I think if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But that's, that is what he wants. So I think it'd be cool to see him come in and do like a quick little cameo in NXT. Maybe that sparks something. Obviously there's the Chelsea Green connection there, but maybe that sparks something between him and the company, and they do some more business together. But Dark State, they're doing absolutely nothing for me right now. I want to see them actually have some impact in the ring. To actually take action on some of these words, which
Impact.
they were doing. Impact. I said it. I went there. But right now they're reminding me of Retribution. Like they came in for a few weeks, they caused havoc just like Retribution did, and now they're kind of just on the sidelines talking about how they want to do things, which is kind of what ended up happening to Retribution before they wound up disbanding. I also feel like this is very close to the culling. It's very, very, very similar to the culling. We already have this dark and brooding. It's a little bit dark and brooding in a different way. The culling is kind of more cult-like, whereas Dark State's more of like an anarchist group. But the presentation is very similar.
Let me hit you with one more. NXT 8 years back. Right now, we are talking about Sanity, and
there you go. Yeah,
same thing. They came in, they did their stuff, they attacked, they were weird, and then they mostly faded into the background and started showing up, but not necessarily winning. So, if anybody who doesn't remember Sanity, Eric Young. Oh gosh, what was the name of the guy who got beat out of the group because he kept getting injured? He kept changing his hair. I'll think of his name
God.
when it no longer. Sawyer Fulton. Was in the group for a small amount of time, but then he got injured during what seemed like his big break. Alexander Wolf, Nikki Cross, who was fresh off of being Nikki Glenn Cross, which I think might actually be her real name. I can't remember. And then later Killian Dane. So Sanity.
That is her real name.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Goodfellas said Sanity had some banger matches. They had a fun run. Go back and watch it today. They had no banger matches and they did not have a fun run. Maybe they did on the main roster. But in NXT, they had like Killian Dane had a couple of good matches. Otherwise, it was not a lot of stuff. Nikki had a couple of really good matches with Asuka. But like as a collective, they didn't have much. I was so excited to watch the Sanity run. And then when it happened, I couldn't believe how soon it was before they were defined down. Like it was so close. It was so soon. What a bummer. That was what it was. Okay, so Briggs and Inamura talked to Obafemi. I guess I could have done this earlier because it is kind of the main event segment. They're laying it on thick with Yoshiki Inamura, making it seem like he can win. So
we got 3 emails, by the way.
3?
Yeah, just letting you know.
That's triple the huge. Okay, so Great Muta, Io Sky, and several guys from Pro Wrestling Noah all talked about Yoshiki Inamura. This one blew my mind. One of them was Kaito Kiyomiya. That doesn't mean anything to a lot of people probably listening to this, but Kaito Kiyomiya very recently wrestled in the New Japan G1 Climax. Like he came over as part of the talent exchange with Noah and New Japan. So seeing Kaito Kiyomiya on WWE TV is crazy. I just don't know where New Japan fits into all this. But whatever's going on with New Japan and Noah might not be going on now. It's just wild. It's such a weird time in wrestling. These things did not used to be able to happen, but they did happen. So yeah, Kaito Kiyomiya is my big takeaway, even though Great Muta, one of the best wrestlers ever, was in this scene. So Muta, just without mask, they could have called him KG Muto, because without the mask, he was KG Muto. Without the paint, he was KG Muto. With the paint, he was Great Muta, but they called him Great Muta because that's what American audiences know for the most part. But yeah, I thought they did some really good hype here. Nate, talk about this, and then I will look at our apparent gaggle of emails.
The gaggle of emails. No, I mean, I like this, but okay. So I'm intrigued by this. Like, obviously, you've got Yoshiki Inamura. He's the honor, right? He's got a lot of honor. It's obviously part of his culture and all of that. And I feel like that's how he came into this segment tonight, talking with Obafemi. Saying that this is going to be his greatest challenge, and he's kind of giving the champion the respect he deserves. And then you've got his tag team partner Josh Briggs just kind of getting in his face, Obafemi's face, and trash talking the champion. And I like this. I think is going. I don't know if it's going to set up for a feud between he and Oba and Josh Briggs. I'm kind of assuming it may lead to that, because I can't imagine Obafemi just kind of like lies down and takes that. But really, looking forward to this. This is a great opportunity for Yoshiki Inamura. I can't see him winning the match. I don't see it happening. But I think the addition of these other wrestlers like the Great Muta, kind of talking up Yoshiki Inamura, it really kind of builds that credibility. This has been a very short build for this match. It's only been a handful of weeks, and they haven't done a whole heck of a lot outside of the actual match where he won to kind of build this. So, getting all these legendary stars to talk about how awesome Inamura is and, how dangerous he is and whatnot, I think is a great way to kind of just build that with the WWE audience, and kind of make him seem like an even more credible contender for the title. Because right now, it's slim pickings for Obafemi. I mean, nothing against Miles Bourne, but Miles Bourne, why was he in the main event? Like, it was cool to see, and I'm glad to see it. And
he wasn't. That's why they were able to pull it off. He wasn't
exactly.
He was in the championship match. Yeah.
Well, I guess it's the championship picture is.
That's what I'm saying.
Is what I meant.
Put these things into the non-main event slot because they don't necessarily have someone. Yeah. When you have someone who's that dominant, you sometimes lose the main event slot with them because nobody's a realistic challenger to their championship. Yeah.
And there really aren't many credible opponents right now for Obafemi. So, I think this is a good way to build up Inamura, but do I think he's going to beat Obafemi? No. I don't even think he's completely signed to NXT. I could be wrong. I don't know what the contract status is there, but at least as of last week, I didn't check this week, but as of last week, Wikipedia still had him listed as signed to Pro Wrestling Noah, making appearances in NXT. So I can't see them.
Japanese contracts are bonkers. You'll go crazy if you try to understand them.
Oh,
yeah. I promise you.
Well, hey, I'm sure even American WWE contracts are bonkers, and I'd go crazy trying to understand them. Sure. But that's just saying I get confused easily. That's really all I'm trying to say. So yeah, looking forward to the match, but and I'm excited for Inamura in this slim possibility for him to win, but I don't think anybody is going to overrule the ruler.
He is one that I would advocate for just retiring from NXT as champ. Like he lost to Tony D twice, but that was for the North American. So, sweep that under the rug because ain't nobody want to hear about Tony D beating Obafemi. but I think maybe you get away with it if Oba just relinquishes the championship. I'm not a fan of that in most cases, but I was a big fan of it with Asuka, and I think you can do that with him. Harmon Smith said, I wasn't a fan of Josh kind of overshadowing Inamura, and I think that's the intent. I think you're not supposed to be a fan of that. I think that the story being told is that Josh is trying to overshadow Inamura because he's jealous of the success and everything that's going on. It's weird that they're telling this story so soon after the story of Briggs being lost without his buddy, but I think now that he has him back, he's realizing how much he actually resents him. I think that's what they're doing. But in a Brave New World where Trick Williams is being presented as a heel, I don't know. Okay, Steve Repshire gave us an email called A Whole Big Weekend of Meh. Greetings, gentlemen. I write this on Monday afternoon since I have little reason to believe that anything that happens tonight on Raw or tomorrow on NXT will change my mind. This upcoming weekend for WWE has no sizzle to any of the shows. All three cards seem hastily built, and they're still not final. Ticket sales for the Bash and Evolution are quite low, $185 for the cheapest Bash ticket. Come on, man. I see this as nothing more than WWE's triple-barreled shot to smother AEW's big afternoon show in Texas. Oh, I'll still watch. Just don't think there's much drama or uncertainty about what we'll see. And they just added Ruka Dame for the North American title via social media. One last thing. Does your thinking on the JC Jordan title match at Evolution change at all? Knowing the winner then goes to TNA Slammiversary for a title match with Knockouts champ Masha Slamovich. JC and Fatal Influence have been the ones appearing on Impact TV. Yet a third Jordan-Masha match is much more appealing for TNA's second biggest pay-per-view. Thanks for the feedback. I should be in PWT's best chat tonight. Go VIP! Thank you, Steve. As always, love having you around, and your jokes sometimes send me when I am talking. Anyway, yeah, I'm really disappointed in the build here because the build is kind of what this company has always done best. Execute or not when the time comes, but the build is something they've been good at for most of their run, but especially much of Triple H's run. But the last, I'm going to say 4 to 5 months, and your mileage may vary, has been lesser. So I don't know what to say about it other than with a show like Evolution, you've got to convince people that a show without the dudes is going to be fine and really, really do more work to sell tickets. And they've got an amazing women's division, and they just did not do the necessary work to really, really sell that show. That is too much. It's, I don't know. Ticket prices are scary for a lot of casual fans right now. I know it's wrestling, and casual fan may or may not exist. But the point is, a lot of families can't go to these shows right now, so that's scary as well. And they know because they're in a hot market, they can do it. I don't know if they would be getting all the hate for being just counter programming if they were putting on an insanely well-built weekend of television. But they're not. They're putting together a hastily assembled weekend of television. So those arguments are they're going to be all up in our areas. Nate?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I already kind of mentioned this earlier in the night. I feel like they're kind of very hastily building all three of these shows. Saturday Night Main Event, I think, might have the most appealing card right now. Not that I really want to see Goldberg come back, but Goldberg does have a big name, and he is a draw. So, I mean, I think that might be the biggest. That's, I think, probably the biggest match of the weekend. But I don't know. To me, like I said, it does feel like it's just counter program AEW trying to take viewers away from AEW. And I think time and time again, it's shown that they're very distinctive audiences that watch AEW and watch WWE. There is obviously crossover, but I think there's really two distinctive audiences there. So how much counter program do you really need to do? As far as this question about the title for title match on TNA, whoever wins, Jordan Grace, JC Jane, going up against Masha Slamovich. I did not know that was a thing. I watched a couple episodes of TNA Slammiversary because they do stream it on YouTube. Or not TNA Slammiversary, TNA Impact rather, because they stream it on YouTube. But I didn't get to watch this last week's on Thursday because we had our regularly scheduled D&D game because, yes, I am a nerd. Here's my D20. I don't know if it changes my prediction because I still think JC Jane, she's new enough with this title reign where I don't think it's time for her to lose it yet. Hey, there we go.
That's
a D100.
That's a D100.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm gonna roll my D100. Closest person gets a star on their comment.
All right. Hell yeah. But
they roll forever.
I don't know if it necessarily changes it. I think Jordan versus Masha is a bigger draw for TNA, but I don't think WWE is going to let TNA storylines or what's best for TNA affect what their plans are. I just don't. So if they want JC Jane to be the title holder for a little while, then that's what it's going to be: JC Jane versus Masha. But while it may not change my opinion or my prediction entirely, it certainly puts a little bit of doubt into my prediction because I really think the Jordan Masha match probably does make more sense for TNA's biggest pay-per-view of the year.
Nate, I rolled my 100-sided die. I will give you one guess as to what I rolled.
64.
1. I rolled a 1.
Wow, you botched on 100?
I literally, if this was Dungeons and Dragons, I'd probably just be executed. One chance on a 100-sided die. You rolled a 1. Then I rolled it again just to see if it would happen again, and it was a 67. So you know what? I'm going to give you partial credit because that's real close. Okay, Jared Buhager sends us this email. Tone Deaf Ava. Hi, team. It's JB from Detroit. It's been a while. Yes, it has. Number 1, Ava bragging about being the first female NXT GM is kind of funny considering they've had 2 GMs. 2, also calling a wrestling promotion / brand the land of opportunity in 2025 makes my eyes roll back so hard I nearly sever an optical nerve. As always, love the show and go VIP. Yeah, these platitudes they do when it's time to do women's shows can be a little much. Ava, for me, part of Ava bragging about being the first female is that she's not good enough for the spot. Evolve. I mean, if you want to argue about breaking barriers down, Evolve has only had 1 GM, and it's female. Current Evolve, because it's Stevie Turner, and she's so much better than Ava. So much Stevie is, and it's just annoying that she has the spot because she has the dad. I get it. I get that that's how things work. But when it's a consumer product, people see that, and it is what it is. Yeah. So anything on JB's email?
Where did it go? I had his email up and I don't know where it went. Tone Deaf Ava. Where'd it go? Okay, Ava bragging about the first GM. Yeah, female GM. Yeah, don't have much more to say about that than we've already said. The land of opportunity in 2025. I had the same thought. It's just There is no land of opportunity in 2025. I'm very pessimistic today. So yeah, just shut up, Ava. Like you said, if she wasn't who she is, she wouldn't be in the spot she's in.
Last email, Kevin Catani. Salutations, gents. Well, NXT was bumped from my Hulu Live thanks to those dang Twinkies. That is what we in Minnesota and around there sometimes call the Twins. But I wanted to email nonetheless. Since I didn't get to watch tonight's show, I'll turn my attention to this weekend and NXT's involvement in a busy wrestling weekend. How do you all think the women's championship match will be received by the main roster crowd? I'd imagine more are aware of Jordynne Grace, but I can't imagine JC will get much of a reaction. Lastly, do the NXT ladies stand any real chance in the four-way match in Evolution? I'm hoping they look like they belong, but there is a lot of name power in that match. That's all for now. Thanks as always. Go VIP and listen to 8YB. Office hours are now over. The Professor, Kevin P. Catani, PhD. Yeah, I
think he meant Battle Royal.
Did he?
He said four-way, but I think he meant the Battle Royal.
But is there also a four-way? I don't know. Because of the show that I was doing all week, I missed some main roster stuff. So maybe there's a four-way match.
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, I don't think that there will be a big reaction to four-way tag match, Nate.
Four-way tag. Okay.
I don't think there will be a big reaction to JC Jane. I think that was a really, really weird foot to put forward when you've got the division you have. I mean, they've been bragging about NXT having the best women's division for a long time. And then they put JC out there, and JC is kind of okay on the mic and kind of, I guess, okay in the ring. It's just a weird choice to put her as your forward foot, if that's what you're going to put on Evolution. I think that she will not be received overly well, and I think if Jordynne doesn't win on that stage, it could be really bad for her. But it could be a loser gets promoted match if Jordynne loses this match, which I always said she would, but I think it would be weird to put JC over at that show. NXT ladies in the four-way match in Evolution, you're going to have to tell me who is in that tag match in Evolution, and then I'll tell you.
I don't actually know off the top of my head. I don't remember what.
I thought you pulled it up.
So I was pulling it up, and what I saw said to be determined. I don't know. Let me see what I can find.
Probably Zaruka, huh?
It would probably make sense. And actually, you know what? I think that is it. Yeah, I think it is. I think it is Zari and Solruka. I think they mentioned it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're getting some love.
It is. It is. I just look it up. It is. Yeah.
Yeah, in the chat, there's some love for Solruka. As long as she can just remember where she is, she's really, really good at wrestling. Just super good at it, and she's inherently likable. And then she goes outside the ring and she chants "This is awesome" along with the crowd. I think she might just be dumb. I don't know what Solruka's deal is, but I think she's got a good chance at being a star. So I'm going to tell you what, Nate, I got another podcast to do because Tom and I are going to do 8 years back right after this. So I believe that is our show, unless you've got anything else.
I had like a 15-minute diatribe about. No, I'm kidding. I'm Nate Lindberg. You can check the things I do out at NateLindberg.com.
I am Kelly Wells, and you can find me on Blue Sky at Other Kelly Wells. I looked at that on my screen again because I would have missed that. Ryan Solorio says horseshoe. He also said that.
Hold on. I promised CJ that we would answer his question before after we hit emails.
Okay.
I did. I said we'd do that, and then it didn't. So how do we feel about Trish getting a championship match? I personally, so my feelings on it is she has the name value and name cash to be a draw for something like Evolution. So I'm okay with it. But at the same time, I think I probably would have liked to see somebody else in that spot that is more, that's here on a daily basis, grinding. But you need star power. You need to bring the legends out from time to time. Trish Stratus can still go, so I understand why they're doing it.
And I'm going to give it even more of a thumbs up than that. Trish Stratus was given the position she was because Vince was hot for her. Like it literally, like she was pushed because Vince is a dirty dude, and she could have totally just skated by on her looks and just been another Sable who decided not to learn to get better because she knew that she could make the money. And Trish didn't, because she's so much cooler than Sable. She decided when she got that spot that she was going to become a really good wrestler and earn the role she had been given. So even though at first I resented the fact that Trish was there just because she looked like she looked, she worked so hard to justify her spot near the top of the card and to be somebody who is consistently booked. So she's not going to win this match. Don't worry about that. She's getting booked in this match as like an older superstar. That's why she's here. Like, don't worry that she's not taking a spot from somebody else. And I would really stress to you that Trish is one of the reasons that this division is taken seriously. I can't give enough respect to Trish because she could have just gotten by knowing how hot she is, and she didn't. She decided to make the women's division better, and I love her for it. And I'm super glad that she did. So she's not going to win. If she does, I'm going to be like, okay, well, maybe this wasn't the way to go. But assuming she does not win, and I do assume that, I think that Trish deserves a spot. And I think the women are just going to be super psyched to say thank you for everything you did. So there is me getting maudlin about Trish. Thank you for what you did for women's wrestling. Cheers.
Yeah, I think we can end now. Is that how we're ending the show?
I guess it is.
Okay, then. Bye, guys.
You didn't do it yet? Oh, my God.
No, not yet. We're still here. We're still live.
I said cheers.
Yeah, he did. He said cheers. Bye.